Hey, space gangsters. I made these roses for my wife out of sheet metal and copper in the past, and for this Christmas, I'm going to make her one out of wood. As you know, I don't have much experience wood carving, so this isn't really a how-to video. It's just a here's what I did type of thing. Now, I started with this purple heartwood thinking its color is cool. It's already the right color, and won't that be awesome? But really, this is super backwards because wood can be stained about any color, right? Purple Heart is pretty, but man, it's like extremely hard. Probably too hard for this particular project, and definitely too hard for a novice woodworker like myself. I really had no idea where to start with this until I watched a few videos on YouTube. I'm going to link to one in particular down below. The resolution is really bad, but this guy is clearly a skilled woodworker, and I'm sort of going to mimic that technique the best I can. Again, the video's not the highest quality, so I'm just sort of doing my best to follow along with some of the things he did. And he starts with a block sort of this shaped, so I'm going to start with a block sort of this shaped. Alright, that's all set, and I've got it in this little base here so I can clamp it down and work with it. Now the plan is to draw out a spiral because I think that's sort of what he did in the video, and this will allow us to get an overlapping effect with the petals as they come around the rows if we do it correctly. Initially, the plan here is to put in a mark with the rotary tool and then go back and do some chiseling and use a gouge to get deep into the wood and shape the petals. But again, the wood just proves too hard, so I'm going to rely on the rotary tool probably more than I first intended. It's becoming apparent that I need deeper grooves, and accomplishing that with hand chisels is just not going to work. So intermittently you'll see me going back to the rotary burr to deepen the channels and do some cleanup. It turns out the burr is much better at doing some fine work than the chisels in this case. Okay, so the grooves look deep enough. It's time to chisel out the tops of the petals and shape the petals more to their final form. The wood is so hard that I tend to gouge it though and tear at the corners of the petals. When things get too thin, I'm sort of tearing away some of the corners. So again, I just go back to that rotary tool every once in a while and clean things up and do some fine shaping. But the chisels are still handy for removing large chunks. Man, I really wish I knew what I was doing. At this point, I'm wondering if this is going to turn into a tremendous time waster, but we'll see. Something just isn't looking quite right, but it's time to shape the bottom of the rose. I've got to attach it to a base and get rid of some of this extra material. So I take it back to the belt sander. As I work with it from the side, I start to sort out what I don't like. I become aware that it's really just too tall. There's too many rows of petals. And when you turn it on its side, it just looks like Jabba Plop. Here I took a few rows of petals off the bottom on the belt sander. I think we're back on track. The leaves just under the flower, whatever those are called, are going to be made from this maple. It'll serve sort of as a stand and a bit of a canvas. It's going to have a nice contrast to the Purpleheart, and it'll really make it stand out, I think. That's the plan. So there it is, rough ground. And we'll go back and shape it a little more and then sand it. Both pieces are going to get 2 coats of Danish oil. And we'll see what happens. I sanded them both to 400 grit. I obviously couldn't get in all the nooks and crannies of the rose, so I just did my best. Some of it is still pretty rough ground, but, you know, it gives the petals some texture. So I think it works out. Alright, the second coat of oil is on and it looks pretty good. Time for some pictures. Still a little greasy, but you know we like that. What's everyone say? Not everything I hoped for, but a decent first attempt. Next time, softer wood.